Ticker symbol VNQ, or the Vanguard Real Estate ETF, is a real estate ETF that owns some of the highest quality REITs across the entire market. And even though Vanguard, the gold standard when it comes to ETFs, runs VNQ, there are a lot of investors that have been critical about this ETF, and of course argue whether or not this ETF is worth investing into in the first place. So in this video, we're going to dig deep into VNQ. We're going to go over what this ETF is, how it works, and exactly which REITs are within the holdings. Then lastly, I'm going to share with you guys my honest thoughts on VNQ and whether or not I would add more VNQ to my portfolio as of right now. So if you consider yourself a REIT investor or you want some more exposure to real estate, stick around, drop a like down below, and let's get right into it. Real quick, for those that haven't already, make sure to go to the first link in my description and grab my new dividend investing ebook, where I share exactly how I went from $0 invested to now earning over $6,000 on a monthly basis and over $1 million invested in the markets. Along with the ebook, you're also going to receive my custom dividend tracker, where you can track your dividend progress on an ongoing basis and reach your dividend investing goals. So make sure to grab yourself a copy of my dividend investing ebook and the new dividend tracker today. It's the first link in my description. So like I talked about during the intro, there are a ton of REIT investors out there. I'm sure a lot of you guys are watching this video invest in real estate investment trusts. And I definitely personally do. As of right now, I almost have 2,900 shares of realty income in my long-term dividend growth portfolio. But like I sort of touched on, even the real estate investment trust crowd, if you will, aren't always the first people to really rant and rave about VNQ. So let's dig a little bit deeper into this ETF. So on the product summary page on the Vanguard website, it says invest in stocks issued by real estate investment trusts or REITs, companies that purchase office buildings, things like hotels and other real estate property. Now, the goal is to closely track the return of the MSCI Market Real Estate 2050 Index, but also VNQ offers a high potential for investment income and some growth, of course. Now, also important with any ETF, the expense ratio, which for VNQ, the expense ratio is 0.12%, which honestly is pretty cheap, but some of the Vanguard ETFs honestly are even cheaper. Now, to dig even deeper into VNQs, see what sort of sectors are within this ETF, because obviously that's very important. You want to know what you're getting exposed to. So right now, data center REITs are about 9.4% of VNQ. Then diversified real estate activity is about 0.2, diversified REITs 1.9, healthcare REITs, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but some of them out there can be decent, 7.8%, hotel and resort REITs about 3%, also not the biggest fan of, industrial REITs 12.9%, multifamily, I'm a huge fan of that, 8%, office REITs not a big fan of, 4%, other specialized 6%, and then the next biggest portions are real estate services, about 7%, retail REITs, which I'm a huge fan of, 12.8%, self-storage, also a big fan of, 6.5%, single-family residential REITs, not really the biggest fan of, 4.6%, telecom tower REITs, big fan of that, 12.1%, and timber REITs, 2.5%. So the first thing that I'll sort of say, and this is just my opinion, let me know what you guys think, is if you want certain exposure to certain areas within the entire REIT sector, maybe it's better to buy into those sectors solely instead of having exposure to certain things you don't necessarily want, although I don't think there's anything wrong with having a small bit of exposure to things that you're a little bit less fond of. But as far as the equity breakdown goes, this is where it's really important. This is what you're getting direct exposure to. These are some of the top names for VNQ. And you can see right here the percentage of the fund. So like right here, 13% of the fund is the Vanguard Real Estate 2 Index, fund institutional plus shares. So VNQ basically invests into another Vanguard Real Estate Index. Then around 7.8% is Prologis. AMT makes up 5.92%. 5.3% is Equinix. Welltower is about 3%. Then Simon Property Group is about 3%. Crown Castle, another 3%. Public Storage, Realty Income, and Digital Realty Trust, just shy of 3%. So far in this list of some of the top holdings when it comes to VNQ, are there any names in this ETF so far that you're really interested in, or are there any names you're not all that fond of? Now, for me personally, there's certain names in this list that I'm a huge fan of. I'll say that I'm a huge fan of things like Digital Realty Trust, Realty Income, Public Storage, a huge fan of, huge shareholder of. Crown Castle, I'm sort of indifferent. Simon Property Group, I do hold, but I'm sort of indifferent. Welltower, kind of the same, and kind of the same for the rest of them. Besides American Tower Corp, I'm definitely bullish on. But so far, for the most part, I will say that as of right now, the top holdings, not necessarily my favorite. I'd sort of rate them a C+ or B-. So now that we dug into VNQ, understand how this ETF works, the sector breakdown within the REITs and some of the top holdings as of right now, looking at this ETF's performance, and this is over the last, say, 20 or so years. So there has been a lot of time for this ETF to really grow, and it really hasn't done all that much growing. The ETF is up just over 63%, which again is green, but not all that much growth whatsoever. But to be fair, this ETF does pay a fair bit of cash flow, which it should definitely because it is in the REIT sector, which normally REITs pay pretty good. The trailing 12-month dividend yield as of right now is around 4.14%, which isn't bad whatsoever. That's higher than what you're going to get across most other, but still, because there hasn't been all that much growth, and on top of that, there really hasn't been all that much dividend growth either. VNQ for the most part has paid out steady quarterly dividends, and there has been some bigger ones here and there. Back in 2016, you see a massive $1.70 payouts, and every so often during December, the dividends are pretty big and juicy, but there really isn't a jaw-dropping chart showing massive dividend payouts long term. All to say that the dividend payouts have been very consistent though, to be fair, and that's one of the reasons on why I bought a lot of VNQ years ago, because the ETF is very diversified into, for the most part, some of the highest quality REITs, and the track record has at least been very steady. Now, because as of right now, filming this video, we're currently still in a time where the Federal Reserve's interest rates are still at 5.5% more or less, and we at least should be getting some interest rate cuts coming soon here. Now, for that reason only, I think that VNQ, because it does hold REITs, real estate investment trusts, which are very sensitive to higher than average interest rates, are going to see a massive benefit if in a year or two interest rates are down, let's say a point or two. But that's all just speculative because we don't know exactly what's going to happen long term with interest rates. Interest rates could be higher for longer for all we know. But regardless, I do think that in the next several years, VNQ, because it does hold some of the best real estate, at least some of it, in the index, I do think that it's going to benefit if and when interest rates get lower, which is why I still am mildly bullish on VNQ, at least from this point on. Now, all that to say that I think VNQ could be a great foundation position in a portfolio for an investor that wants a lot of exposure to real estate and some of the best real estate investment trusts across the entire market. But I also think that if you are a savvy investor and you find different real estate investment trusts, dig deeply into them and maybe figure out if they are offering a great buying opportunity. Let's say Realty Income, for example. I personally, over time, instead of buying VNQ, just directly started buying shares of Realty Income because I really believe in it and I love what it offers. But like I sort of touched on, I do think that VNQ for a beginner REIT investor could be a decent foundation because of what it offers, because of what it's exposed to, and sort of just the nature of the ETF. But lastly, more importantly, I want to hear from you guys down below when it comes to investing into REITs and when it comes to VNQ, the Vanguard Real Estate Index. Is VNQ personally in your portfolio? Yes or no? And also, would you personally buy more shares of VNQ in 2024 moving forward? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like on it and subscribe for more future content like this. Make sure to grab yourself a copy of my dividend investing ebook and the new dividend tracker today. It's the first link in my description. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.